Hello everyone, welcome to Las Vegas. Yes, the boots are on the ground here during Thanksgiving week, where we just had a couple of massive games here at the Players Era Championship. Duke versus South Carolina, and that, insane roller coaster of a game that was UCLA versus Texas. I'm here to break them both down for you. I've already put the press conferences up here on YouTube, so if you want to hear from the players and everyone themselves, that's the place to go look. I have you covered here tomorrow as well, but we got to talk about today because these games, again, I said this on social media before, that these are games that can genuinely change the trajectory here, right? For all of these teams involved, and I think it's safe to say that that happened a little bit here today. Let's talk first about Duke and South Carolina. To me, this was one of the best and most impressive games that I've personally been moved by when it comes to Joyce Edwards. The mid-range was hitting, going off the dribble as well a lot over the course of this game, creating her own shots, the passing as well, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. This was one of the more complete games from Joyce Edwards I had seen. I left here feeling moved. Moved, I'm telling you. You also, obviously, Medina down there as well. This duo that they have here at South Carolina, again, it wasn't on paper in terms of, when you think about the way that South Carolina has won over the course of this dominant era that is Dawn Staley at South Carolina, it has been obviously through the bigs. And when you looked on paper at this roster preseason, you were looking at Taniyah Latson and be like, hey, this can be the year that a guard is the player that goes and takes South Carolina to the mountaintop alongside Raven Johnson and Tessa Johnson. Like, those are the type of players that you could look at and be like, you're probably going to be the ones leading this team. It's not looking like that right now, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for South Carolina. Again, you have two bigs down low that just simply Duke didn't have the answer for this entire game, and obviously Duke is not the team that was on paper going into this big kind of, we were looking at this potentially in Vegas to be a Final Four preview. Obviously, notably missing UConn in that, but like in terms of teams that can make it, absolutely Duke could have been in that conversation. Doesn't necessarily feel like it right now, but look, Duke actually held their own in this game for a decent amount of time, especially in the first half. Just not playing the exact defense that you're used to. Dawn Staley talked about in her post-game press conference. It wasn't the normal kind of like press up super heavy. They were going under screens. They were allowing passes to get through and almost kind of daring South Carolina to go and shoot it. South Carolina, though, did not fall for the bait, and you saw the dominance from those bigs. Ultimately, the big test for South Carolina comes tomorrow when they play the winner of Texas versus UCLA that we now know to be Texas. And oh buddy, that game. Look, Texas comes out in that first half and it's just absolutely dominant. Only one turnover, I believe, in that entire first half. You look, Madison Booker, Jordan Lee, the X Factor I had listed, and Roy Harmon, Roy Harmon has been doing this for a minute. It's no surprise, generally speaking, when you see Roy Harmon impacting a game. But today, it was a surprise with the way that she impacted the game, with how much she was scoring the ball, how efficient the shooting was. If you're getting that from Roy Harmon, Texas just becomes so incredibly difficult to beat. But as most wins, when they come for Texas, it started on the defensive side of the ball. And this was something that I thought was absolutely so intriguing to me in the first half versus UCLA in the second half, where they made a massive comeback in this game. Texas, the defense on Lauren Betts, right? When you think about it, when you're guarding a big, you're obviously thinking about the paint, especially a big like Lauren Betts, who is so dominant within that kind of 4 feet from the rim, like that area of where if you get to her the ball there, she's likely going to score or she's going to get fouled. That is not where the defense started for Lauren Betts today, and the way that Texas handled Lauren Betts. It started, as Vic said in the post-game press conference, 30 feet away from the basket. It started with the pressure on the ball that Texas guards were able to get over the course of this entire game, and more in particular that first half before UCLA kind of shifted game plans completely in the second half. But the ball pressure that they were able to get on, Jordan Lee had 3 steals. You look up and down the box score, you see steal from all these different players of Texas, and it was due to that ball pressure that they were able to get that it made it so incredibly difficult, because you're also fronting Lauren Betts down low, whether it be with an Oldacre or whoever. You're fronting Lauren Betts, you have pressure on the ball on the perimeter, and the only way you can get it to her is throwing it over the fronting defender. When you have that level of ball pressure, especially with these Texas defenders, that pass is damn near impossible, and it looked like it today. The defense was impeccable on Lauren Betts. She ended this game on 4 of 8 shooting, so only 8 shot attempts. No free throws as well, 8 points, right? And I had asked Corey Close about it as well in the post game, and she had mentioned that she felt like there was kind of an established physicality that did not go in their favor, but also that this was kind of all across the board. Everyone needed to be better in terms of being able to get Lauren Betts the ball including Lauren Betts, and not allowing these defenders to front her in this way. To me, that was the make or break of that first half, was just the inability to get Lauren Betts involved. And also, because she was trying to kind of work her way out of the paint, whether it was just because she posted up and didn't get the ball, or she was going up for ball screens, which were often rejected in that first half, so she wasn't really getting involved there either, it limited the rebounding as well of the impact that she was able to do there. Again, this was it kind of reminded me to a degree of the USC win last year when they were able to put ball pressure and impact the ability to get Lauren Betts the ball, but this was to a whole different level in that first half. But then the second half came. And UCLA stopped kind of trying to force it to Lauren Betts. And Gianna Neepkins, who the stocks are looking good for Gianna Neepkins. I mean, she ended this game with 17 points, right? 17 points in this game for Gianna Neepkins, and she was on fire in that second half. And Texas was losing her. As great as the defense was in the first half, they were losing her in that second half, and she was just knocking shot after shot after shot down, and it led a massive UCLA comeback. But it was also on the defensive side of the ball. As I mentioned, all these players for Texas, anyone you could think of that you would think would be impacting offensively, and more so even, were doing that in the first half. Not as much in the second half. They were forcing turnovers Texas was turning the ball over. UCLA was forcing it. Madison Booker and Jordan Lee both go cold. But Roy Harmon, I can't say enough about, there was a couple where the shot clock was going down. Roy Harmon hits the shot, and it's just an absolute backbreaker for UCLA. They had to come back down from like 20 points, and they got it all the way down to 4, but Roy Harmon was there. And this is a Roy Harmon that has obviously dealt with so many injuries, and she had a healthy offseason last year. And this past summer, they mentioned the press conference, but it looked the part. And obviously, you want to see more three-point shooting, which she had tonight, right? And after not shooting it this entire season, she had the three-point shooting tonight. She had the mid-range that she is so known for. She was getting to the rim. She was getting fouled. Everything you would want from Roy Harmon today. Defensively, offensively, she brought it, and they needed every ounce of it by the end of it. They felt that UCLA was going to make a run, but UCLA making it all the way back and making this a true game at the end of this with a couple of Kiki Rice steals. Again, Gianna Neepkins going just absolutely crazy. Ultimately, though, Texas is the team that wins here. And it's now a game tomorrow that you want to talk about a heavyweight matchup. We're getting South Carolina versus Texas on Thanksgiving. This is a game that can set the stage, set the tone for everything that we're going to see in the SEC this season. And we get it on Thanksgiving. This is a Texas team that obviously is a contender. Obviously has been at the top of these rankings, but hadn't really had like those marquee wins yet. Hadn't really played anybody. Had the win against Richmond, that was solid, but hadn't really had these tough games. And you go out and beat UCLA, that everyone had, in a lot of ways, been very high on, right? In terms of kind of penciling and going deep, myself included, right? You go and you dominated that first half. You let them back in, but you survive in the second half. You kind of showed both pieces of both throwing the punch and being able to receive one, which is incredibly important. And now you go against South Carolina. You want to talk about making a statement. This is the week for Texas to go and make a statement in terms of where they feel like they should be respect-wise as in the national conversation. Because I'm not saying I'm making this point. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself here. However, if Texas goes and beats UCLA and South Carolina, they have a case to be number 1 in the nation. Even though UConn has been absolutely dominant as well. I'm not saying I'm saying that. I'm just saying it's a conversation to have. So tomorrow, immediately, obviously you have Duke and UCLA as well. You would expect UCLA to bounce back. If they don't bounce back in that game, we're going to have some real serious looks and observations about where UCLA stands right now. But I am incredibly excited for that game tomorrow. And I just to also note, on a little boots on the ground, if you follow us on social media, you would have already seen this, but Cheryl Reeve, obviously head coach of the Minnesota Lynx, who have the number 2 overall draft pick in this draft, was here today, and Lauren Betts, certainly a player that could fit a need for the Minnesota Lynx. Not exactly the performance that you're looking for in terms of kind of like that all-inspiring, we're going to draft you moment, and I don't think that's going to come down to one game or anything, but again, I'll be interested in seeing where Lauren Betts, the draft stock goes. Obviously, you have all the mock drafts and everything. I know producer Charter's got a mock draft on the way for us here at No Cap Space. We're looking at those. We're also just looking at, was there a level of blueprint here for UCLA that was kind of given out potentially with the ball pressure that you're able to get. Not many teams can say that they can go play defense like Texas, but I think you could sure attempt it potentially, especially in Big Ten play, about maybe trying to get a couple upsets here or there. I'm excited for tomorrow, though. This Texas and South Carolina game, again, sets the tone for the rest of the season in so many ways, both nationally and in the SEC. I'll have you covered here with boots on the ground here at the Player Heirs Championship in Las Vegas. Again, all the press conferences, all the stars that are out, everything you can find on our social medias here on YouTube, and of course, NoCapSpaceWBB.com. Make sure you're tapped in here. I'm back again tomorrow. We're doing this all again, and we have an absolutely massive Thanksgiving matchup between Texas and South Carolina that you're not going to want to miss out on. I'll have you covered here, so make sure you stay tapped in.